Hi everyone. So I'm feeling very happy to talk about this very topic. So we read this title, it feels oxymoronic, but let's talk about anger. Two effects, two undiscussed effects of anger which most people miss out. You'll see this in when you interact with me. Most things that I talk about, people would not see. And I'm not like coming back to the topic at hand, anger. Anger is, we know what anger is. It's an riled up emotional state. So I'm not talking about the very generic effects from a physical standpoint, or like those things are already there. Those things are all true. I'm talking about what people, what you might not see it coming. So let me give you an example. Let's say there's one guy. Anybody, you can name it Alfred, name him John, or anything. Let's say this guy, John, and Alfred. Let's say these two guys are conversing, and Alfred says, "John, I'm having a very bad time at my dating." John says, "Why?" The other guy says, "Why?" So he replies that I find it very hard to understand women. I really don't know what they want. You see, there is a tone of anger. Very next obvious question is, what do they want? What is the problem? Like, why do you feel so? The guy says, sometimes I bring up sometimes I bring up money, but they don't want like that. So what happens is the anger which is coming through frustration, and that frustration is coming through the situation of lack. One thing we need to understand about anger, which is very basic, it's common sense, that anger is an emotion which is just a surface level cover or an encapsulation of something different, a different emotion. It is a fungus over the bread. You know, like you keep a moist bread out, loaf out in the I would not say perfect, but in a suitable conditions. Well, like I have words running in, and a fungus of any color you might despise will grow up, and that is not obviously very edible. But anger is just like that fungus. The cause was something else. Coming back to the point, one effect about that this guy, when he is so much angry and frustrated, he is missing out on the absolute context, and his mind is presenting, this John's mind is presenting him situations of delirium, or disconnecting him with the truth, or disconnecting him with the actual essence of the thing. So one effect of anger I'll put out, it keeps you in the state of, it keeps on adding layers and layers of distortion or disconnect from the reality. The people will label this thing like we also have this problem, the nasty habit of labeling things. We'll label certain age group of people Gen Z, whereas what is going on with them is what is exactly going on with the previous generation. You see some defects in the previous generation, you know what is not to be done, but you are also misguided into what is exactly to be done. It's the pattern with every generation, so let's not label these people, and by extension let's not judge these people or anybody for that. Anger keeps on adding layers and layers and layers of distortions. It's not just one, to the point that you are deluded and your intelligence is not no longer functional. That is the point. It Now, whenever I say these words, don't take me for my word. Just see, take a moment's pause and reflect over it and observe whether this is playing out or not. These layers and layers and layers of distortions, like I mentioned, people label it cognitive dissonance, people label it distortions, people sometimes it comes up to some like very advanced conditions of schizophrenia as well. But yes, well, there are thousands of reasons for those conditions being developed. But one thing is prolonged period of anger. So simplifying, and this is my first point. This is the first unseen effect of being of anger. It makes you less intelligent, or it erodes your intelligence. It erodes your intelligence. Just have just reflect on this thing. Keeping on being on anger consistently is going to add. So like if you are in that mood, let's say I'm angry on something. Okay, why do I need to do this? Like some distortion will come up. Some of the other distortion. Okay, I should burn off all the like things like these will all the come up, and it will distract your focus. Your focus automatically will be distracted because the energy is very diluted. Second effect of anger, it erodes your protections. This is more from a meditator's perspective, but it is something when you are at a peaceful stance, you start strengthening your you don't need to be a meditator to observe that. You're pretty much connected with the body. Even if you're playing, if you're hiking, or if you're let's say swimming, or playing any kind of sport, you'll notice the same effect. To be very real, female bodies or feminine thing, that they have this thing naturally. Now, but men need to do so. Actually, masculine also has this component, but it gets distorted or diluted at the same time. But awareness and that adds certain protections of your mindset. What happens when you're angry? Your entire body goes through so many changes, and it also is affected to your relations and connections. So within that mood, when your particular mind state, it's also radiating outside. Now like what nonsense, what it's not logical. Hear me out first of all. Everything that is spoken or that is not very visually observable doesn't mean that there's no substance to it. Sometimes if you see a person clenching their fists and like all that, you might not know what's the story, but you'll understand this person is angry. Nobody wants to interact with that energy or that burning lava. I'll not say even fire, because fire is also has a different effect, but nobody wants to be touched by lava of that kind. Essentially, that radiates from you. The presence is actually macroeconomic. So it erodes your protections against the more disturbing elements or more disturbing emotions. Obviously, your mind, in just a previous point I mentioned, that your mind is deluded in that particular manner, and essentially your body and heart and all those things, they have this these kind of so whenever your mind is very stable, there is certain protection against other sorts of various problems. So you will not assume too much, like, or you'll be pretty much focused on certain specific things. Let's say your business, your career, and everything. But with consistent patterns of anger, that protection from the nuisance erodes away. Like if you're operating in a in a regular time, like if you're operating very regularly in any kind of business or any occupation, you'll see there's a lot of nuisance that comes up. Something which is not very real, something that you don't need to deal, engage in, and all that. It is always there, and usually you have those protections. Unless otherwise, why would you be running a decent occupation or something? So you'll not be but consistent patterns of anger. So I'll call them so these are emotional protections which has put in by our like positive elevating exercises. Maybe you are a meditator, maybe you are a sports person, maybe you have been given reflective values at childhood, or maybe you are guided by someone, your parents, or anything. But that is what is keeping you afloat, or even making you rise. Then suddenly you get angry, and that point, because there is a the higher rates of those higher rates of heartbeat, higher rates of cortisol, and everything. Those are going to exhaust a lot of energy in you. It's going to create. It's going to release a lot of those hormones, bring your liver to a higher end. And don't ask me all those things, but it's going to keep you in that situation. Obviously, that is going to radiate from you, and everybody else is going to notice that. Sometimes you're very visually, or more often than not, non-visually also. People notice. Even the environment notices. So those protections that you have against your loneliness, against these things, which are seen practices and all that, these are actually protections. Anger destroys those shields at instance. I would say even one time it does, but yeah, let's be realistic. So how to come out of how to solve this problem? Obviously, bringing down the anger as an emotion might not always be the very first. If you want, if you are at, let's say, there are also levels to this thing. Let's say you are at anger level, let's say from 0 to 10. I'm just putting random numbers. You can assign the values of that emotion to yourself, because at some point we have to quantify also, to understand, to validate, and to improve. From 0 to 10, what is your 0, what is your 10? You are at 3, let's say. Maybe a breathing exercise might put you, or maybe something like you can just remove that, and if you are reflective, you'll find out the underlying thing, and you will solve the underlying thing. That is usually how people solve. That is, but if you have been before coming across this video, before coming across me, you might have been operating in certain manner. You have already been seeing that, and now you want to. So if a float has been damaged, there's certain, first of all, you need to do certain kinds of, let's say let's compare it to this analogy of a float, or something that you lie on, and so if it is a damaged float, it will not hold any air, and it will not provide it will not serve the functionality it is designed to. So what do you do is, first of all, you repair those webs, the protections which I mentioned. One thing which I forgot to include, you are easily susceptible to distortions coming from outside, even more because people also running with their agendas and everything. So if you're continuously angry, you will not see through those things. You're, okay, this person is like, oh. It's like a charging bull will notice the flag, the red flag. Not red doesn't matter. The bulls cannot see. They don't have too many cones or those visual the cells which distinguish between colored and non-colored light. So those cells are not, so red color doesn't matter to the bull. It's just going to see that as a flag, and he will ignore the dagger with which the person will kill him. It's a very popular old sport, still done in this similar manner traditionally. Why the red cloth is still used? Obviously, because in those days we don't had, you never had those screens and linear, so red is easily visible to the human audience. So that red thing is not just distracting the bull; it's distracting the audience as well. So consistent pattern of anger is easy. Like get the analogy, get the metaphor right. It's going to be very applicable to you. Your protections are gone, so it is going to. So it's makes it easier for others to kill you. Let's have a look at it. So first you need to protect, clean up the anger obviously, but at the same time repair those protections, and that is also going to take consistent effort. And sometimes it's not just the symptom or not the problem. Like you might be facing something, but the cause lies somewhere else. So you need somebody to interact with you. And a lot more times it's not just the therapist who will do it. Now, not that sometimes you may need therapy, you need anything. That's totally fine. Sometimes it's not just about therapy. Maybe you are facing a scam in real estate, or maybe you lost a substantial amount of money due to poor business decisions. In those situations, sometimes working on the problem also solves a lot of it. So you need a consultant and advisor, somebody like me. Like I tell you, this is very personal. This is very recent. I conducted a webinar very recently about higher order strategies. And how do you not get into this trap? In the comment sections, I was receiving so many messages that made me feel like I should bring this up. It's a consistent pattern. So yes, it's not. I understand it's not very easy to bring up content like this, or to bring up this thought in your mind that okay, maybe there's something else that's going on. Because the anger is shielding that. So stay happy. So I would say bring up this thing. So for the very first effect that I wanted to put out of anger is it makes you less intelligent. I just explained the whole chain. The second effect is it destroys your protections. Let's stay happy. I wish you stay less angry. I wish you grow through progress. And if you have any trouble doing that, contact me. Find details to reach out to me, or join my community over the description section. Stay tuned. Stay happy.